Good morning. You know, Easter is one of those days where everyone can be in the same room and be in completely different places at the same time. I imagine that's probably true today. Some of you came into the room ready to worship. You're a follower of Jesus and you know exactly what this day is all about, and you came ready to sing with brothers and sisters about Christ's victory over sin, death, hell, and the grave. Some of you are here because somebody invited you to come, and in spite of your best efforts to find out a reason to say no, you couldn't find one, so you said, yeah, I'll be there. Some of you are here because, well, it's just what you do. It's just what you're here, and welcome. We're glad that you're here. Some of you, if you're honest, you're not sure why you're here. And the reason why you're not sure why you're here is because you're not sure what you believe. You're not sure what you believe about any of this anymore. And again, maybe you wouldn't say this out loud, but you're thinking, I don't know if any of this is true. All of the words that were just sung, the emotion that I observed people expressing as they sung songs back to God, I'm not sure that I buy it. But I'm open to the possibility that I could be wrong. If that's you, or for all of us, I want to say welcome, and I'm glad that you're here today. And this morning I can make you a promise. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to be fake today. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to come to the room believing that all of your questions are already answered. You can be honest. Because though we're all different, I do believe that there are some things that we all have in common in this room. We all know what it feels like when life doesn't turn out the way that we thought it would, could, or maybe the way we thought that it should. We all know in different shapes and sizes our share of disappointment. We've all experienced grief and loss. We've all known moments when something breaks, and I'm not just talking about one of your tools when you're trying to fix something. I'm talking about life. When something breaks in your life and you think this isn't going to fix itself. We've all had moments together, different, and for whatever reason, your mind just won't shut off. You're replaying conversations, you're worrying about the future, you're trying to figure out how everything that's going on in your world, how it's all going to work out. And underneath that question, at times we begin to ask ourselves, am I going to be okay? Is everything going to be all right? And sometimes in those moments, we've also taken those questions vertical. In the middle of our own uncertainties, many of us have asked the question, if God is real, where is he? I mean, if God is real, where is he? And that's exactly where we want to start today with our Easter story. We're going to jump into the story of Easter after the third day. And we're going to jump into the story not with people who are confident, but we're going to spend some time looking at a story about a couple of people who don't have it all figured out. If you have your Bible open to Luke 24, we're going to throw some verses as we walk through this passage up on the screen. If you don't have a Bible, please grab one on your way out this morning. We want everybody to have a Bible. But this morning, we're starting with two of Jesus' disciples who are walking away. They're walking away from Jerusalem, the scene of everything that had happened. And they're walking away trying to figure out, what in the world was that? What just happened? The Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, 13, Luke writes these words. He says this, that very day, two of Jesus' disciples, two of them were going to Emmaus, about 7 miles away from Jerusalem. Again, look at what it says, that very day. What day is it? It's Sunday. It's resurrection day. Jesus has already risen, but these two disciples don't know it yet. They don't know it. Luke continues. He says, and they were talking with each other about all these things that had happened. Again, imagine that it's you. And you're just walking with your friend. You've been following this guy named Jesus. You've been listening to him teach. You've been excited to hitch yourself to his wagon, right? You're following him, and then all of a sudden, he's arrested. He's beaten. He's killed. And he's buried. And you're just trying to figure out what is going on. You're trying to make sense of it all. That's what they were doing. They're walking away from Jerusalem, figuring out. Then in verse 15, Luke continues. It says, while they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But this is what he says. But their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And I don't know about you, but there's humor in this. These two guys are walking this 7-mile journey away from Jerusalem, and we don't know at what point it is that all of a sudden there's a third guy that starts walking with them, and it's Jesus. And they're oblivious to the fact that it's Jesus. And I don't know if supernaturally something was going on that Jesus hadn't revealed himself to them. I don't know exactly. Maybe it was they were just so distraught. Maybe the idea that this could perhaps be Jesus was so far from their thought process that it didn't even occur to them. They couldn't imagine that that's who it was that was walking with them. But Jesus just kind of scoots up next to them, and he's just walking. Right? He's just walking. He's just going on the journey with them. And they don't recognize it. Again, think about where they're walking from. They're walking from Jerusalem, away from the place where everything had happened, away from where he had been arrested and where he died and where he was buried. But mostly, they were walking away from the place where their hope had died. And that journey from Jerusalem to Emmaus was a hopeless journey. They thought that for however long that they had been following Jesus, that it was just wasted days, wasted weeks, wasted months, wasted years. They're not rebellious. They're not shaking their fists at God. Why did you do this, God? I think if there's anything going on emotionally, they're just disappointed, confused. They're just sad. Verse 17, Jesus speaks up to them. He says, what is this conversation that you're holding with each other as you walk? Again, he just says, hey, what are you guys talking about? What's going on? Tell me what's going on. And then look at what Luke writes. He says, and they stood still, looking sad. That's just an honest detail. They stood still, just looking sad. You could feel it. If we jump down to verse 21 a little bit later in the conversation, and we're going to backtrack in a minute, but the reason why they were sad, they stated in verse 21 when they're talking back to Jesus, they said this to him, we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. We had hoped, past tense. They're now not filled with hope. They're hopeless. And I think sometimes the opposite of faith isn't rebellion. It's hopelessness. It's heartbreak. But again, we can't miss what's going on in this story. These men are walking away. But Jesus is the one who makes the move. Jesus is the one who comes to them in their confusion, in their doubt, in their sadness, in their grief, in their wondering. Jesus comes toward them. And if you're writing down anything today, write this down. Here's what I want us to understand, is the fact that Jesus meets people on the road, not at the finish line. Jesus meets people on the road, meaning this, and here's where I want us to put ourselves into this today, and here's what I want you to hear me say. We don't have to pretend to have it all figured out before we start walking with Jesus. We don't have to have it all figured out. If your personal experiences with faith, with God, with